Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 162 of the 343 podcast. We have a banging episode lined up for today. It's going to be something special. So, with me tonight, I've got Jason, Ronnie. As always, Jason, how are you doing, bro?
All good, bro. All good. I'm not gonna lie. The last 2 weeks have been a bit treacherous. But yeah, after last night's game, I'm not too mad. So yeah, feeling good.
Yeah, we'll come to that, 1-0 to the Arsenal. We'll take that every day of the week. And welcome to everybody in the chat on the live show. It's good to have you all here with us. And we have a special guest today for the first time, I think, in history, that the UAE lads are outnumbering the South African lads on the show. We've got Rodz, a good friend of mine over here, joining us, a Chelsea fan. Welcome to the show, Rodz. Good to have you.
Hey, cheers, boys. Cheers, Z. Cheers, Jason. Yeah, lovely to be a guest. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, we've been talking about it. I think not recently, but in the past we did chat about it briefly. So it's been a long time coming. Glad we could actually get it going for now. And there's no perfect time, but when your team is struggling, it's always good to get people on. To get their point of view as fans as to what's happening with their teams. We've suffered as Arsenal fans for a while, even though we are in a fairly good position on the log, but. We'll come to that a bit later. So just to get us going, a bit of a rundown on what we're going to cover in the show today. So we've got the FA Cup review. I think we'll start there just to tap into the results who made it through to the semi-finals and what that draw looks like. Then we're going to focus on the main topic for tonight, which is going to be the Chelsea versus Man City preview coming up in the Premier League this weekend. Obviously, that's why we got you here, Rod, to dive deep into Chelsea and what's happening at the club. And then also we want to know, can anyone stop Erling Haaland? That's the main question. And then should we get to it towards the back end? And that's obviously, how would I say, it's done on purpose. It's purposeful to have Spurs at the end because that's where they are, guys. That's where they are. Yeah. They're down there at the bottom of the log. So if time allows, we will then chat about the Spurs relegation situation and some of the other teams around there. So before we get into all that, if anyone has any questions, any comments, please feel free to join the chat. And as always, our admin, our housekeeping, like, share, subscribe, do the thing. And thank you for all the support. 162 episodes is no joke. So to have you with us for this journey has been incredible. So to get straight in, I'm going to put our guest on the spot. We do a bit of an icebreaker just to get you going, warm up a little bit. Jason is making it seem like it's going to be difficult, but it's a fun question. So for you, Rodz, your icebreaker for this one, if you could have any former Chelsea player come manage the club right now, who would it be and why?
Oh, wow. That is really putting me on the spot.
I know you're a deep guy.
I think I'm obviously a massive Chelsea fan. I've been a Chelsea fan for the past 35 years, so got an intimate connection with the club. In terms of managerial prospects, I think right now, if Frank Lampard hadn't coached Chelsea, if he hadn't had those 2 stints, I think I would have gone to Frank Lampard. But I think right now I will probably go for Cesc Fabregas. I like what he's doing out at.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice. I like that one. And the reason I find that quite interesting is because if we have to part ways with our manager at Arsenal at some point, I'm very much in favor of Fabregas as being the next man up. So we have competition there. He's obviously doing a great job at Como. And it would be interesting to see how he transitions to the Premier League, which I think is inevitable at this point. He will find his way into the league at some point. And again, just depends where that availability is. But good shout. I like it. I thought you might maybe go for a player manager because Chelsea.
Yeah, I was going to go like Robert Huth, back in the day. But that's a bit too extreme, maybe. Maybe that German presence is what the team needs.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking in terms of ex-players who are current managers. So for me, it was between Cesc and John Terry. But I think on that front, I think come the end of the World Cup, I think it's going to be a very interesting time in terms of managers. I think there's going to be heaps of movement. So
Yeah.
let's see how long Liam Rosenior is at Chelsea for, you know. So yeah, but
Yeah, it's actually, that's a great point. The summer, it might be more about managers than players, the way things are going. Could be quite interesting. But just on the Chelsea manager thing quickly, I think I spoke about this before, but I really, it was very interesting when Spurs were talking about possibly a player manager. It took me back to Chelsea, who had Ruud Gullit as a player manager at one point, Gianluca Vialli as a player manager. And okay, obviously, we were much younger at that time, but it's like a vivid memory seeing a guy on the touchline, and then he's like, you know what, it's not working. Let me take my jacket off. I'm going to warm up myself here. I'll put myself on for the last 10 minutes. I think that's something about Chelsea that stands out to me in my memory. But anyway, Rodz, that was a fantastic question to get us going. Mubin, welcome to the show. You can get a Hoya, but I think you must get it from Jason because he looks like he can give you a lekker one, or is he struggling there?
I've already gave it to him, so it's fine. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay, fair play, fair play.
Yeah.
So let's get going with the FA Cup, right? Just to touch on that. Obviously, for us, Jason, it was a disappointing weekend going out to Southampton. Just your brief thoughts on that match and bowing out of the FA Cup at the quarterfinal stage.
Yeah, I think going into it, it was probably we kind of expected something more than what we showed. A lot of players out in that international break, but I know the game before the international break was that Carabao Cup final, so there was still a bit of wounds that were not healed. I don't think they healed with that performance. That being said, there's still, I think there's an element that we've struggled with in a few seasons, and that is the sort of player to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. And yeah, I literally thought it was going to be Max Dowman, to be honest, because the way he showed up and the chances he was creating and the problems he was giving the left back, it was a sight to behold. But yeah, the team just wasn't there, and I think you have to admire the Southampton story. Obviously, been in the Prem for so many years, been out for it, up and down. So that it was really something that was set up for them at home. That was unbeaten. So yeah, I'm not gonna focus too much on that. We've got bigger things to fry. After 22 years, I want to put energy into the league and possibly making a further run in the Champions League. So I think the fact that we have the most FA Cups, I'll kind of bow out, maybe gracefully, maybe a bit salty, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I can hear the definite saltiness in that. I think at the end of the day, Southampton did really well. They played really well, and they look like they're hungry for this. Obviously, with their 1976 throwback that they're focusing on. We will come back to Southampton a little bit later in a few minutes' time. But just one of the other results that took place on Sunday, we saw Leeds United take on West Ham. West Ham raced to a 2-0 lead. Leeds came back. Or was it the other way around? Actually, no. West Ham
Other way around.
came
Yeah.
back. West Ham came back, leveled it 2-2, and then penalties, which was also chaotic because the home security didn't want the Leeds guys to take penalties in front of the Leeds fans because it was a security risk. Have you ever heard of this type of thing, bro? But anyway, Leeds prevailed, and I actually think they're doing really well this season. They are at the bottom of the standings, which we'll touch on later, but they've played really good football. I've been very impressed with Daniel Farke so far. So we got Leeds having advanced, Leeds and Southampton, and then the other two teams which are going to bring us nicely into the preview for Man City and Chelsea. Starting with Man City, who demolished Liverpool. Rodz, did you manage to catch any of that game, and what were your thoughts there with City in that Liverpool game?
I mean, I did manage to catch the game. I think it's more so with Liverpool. I think the wheels have just come off with Liverpool. I think it's been an incredibly trying season. Whereas on the other hand, this is kind of where Man City, kick in. I think obviously it's first time on the pod with you boys, and again 162 episodes. Wow, fantastic! That's awesome. But I think with my Liverpool mates out here in Dubai, I think big thing we mentioned in the beginning of the season was the Diogo Jota. And I think people actually underestimate that. And I think you can just see the effects of it now. Also with Salah, I think maybe one season too many. So understandable. And then it's just the city juggernaut. This is obviously when they kick in.
Yeah, it's their time of the season. With Liverpool, I thought they were in that game. I'm not saying they were playing, dominating, or they were ahead, but I think they were in the game. And once that penalty decision came, even though it was soft, a pen's a pen, it was quite soft, but it's a penalty nonetheless. And once that happened, I think it was just the domino effect, and then suddenly 2-0 going into halftime, and there was just no coming back. And Salah's penalty itself, it just showed that just a lack of conviction at the moment from the Liverpool boys. I know AF is calling for Slot's head. He wants to see Slot out. And he's hoping for a big PSG result tonight, I guess, that will knock Slot out of the managerial seat. Whereas I feel he'll last till the end of the season at least before they consider the options. Because again, who's available, right? We touched on that a bit. So City obviously through. They get, I would say, favorable draw, getting Southampton. We can't say too much because we lost to them. But if you are a Man City fan, you probably are quite happy to get Southampton in the next round for the semi-final. So that's one half of the draw. And then coming on to Chelsea, they had a fantastic 7-0 result against Port Vale. Multiple goal scorers. Everybody kind of got in the mix. There was even Arsenal's top goal scorer, own goal, managed to also contribute to the 7 goals.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere, exactly. So pretty polished performance, but what stood out for me was the performance of Esteval. He seems to be back in full fitness and shining. So your thoughts again, obviously 7-0 against a lower team. It doesn't tell you as much, but I thought, Esteval quite promising.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the way, this last bit of the season has gone for us, I'll take whatever result against whatever opposition. It was nice to see us be clinical. I think that's been lacking for a long time at Chelsea. I think, the lack of our players being clinical has got heaps of managers fired. I'm talking about back to Frank Lampard, where it was Timo Werner and Kai Havertz who just weren't clinical enough. And it was nice to actually see us be clinical. Esteval, I think he's obviously one for the future. I think we are super stoked to have him. I think he needs a bit more help. We can't be relying the same way you were saying, Max Daalman. I think it's ridiculous for us to be relying on 19, 20-year-olds to spark things. But yeah, a nice positive result. Funny enough, for the FA Cup, I actually wanted City in the semi because the last 5 or 6 years, we've been to Wembley many times for finals, and we just haven't got over the line. So I'd rather just get it done in the semi, see what happens. And then obviously I'd hate to go to Wembley again for a final and then, City pip us. But yeah, super stoked for the result. And yeah, there's more to come from Chelsea. I'm not one of these Chelsea fans who are super pessimistic. I'm very optimistic about the future, actually.
For sure. It sounds like it. And Jason, just there with Esteval, obviously doing really well. It's exciting to see this type of talent, We talk about this a lot, where players have become quite robotic, system orientated, and they play very specific roles. But you get these type of players like Esteval, like Max Daalman, who once they get the ball, their first instinct is to take on a player. They're not looking at the pass or the pattern of play or anything. They want to isolate it to a 1v1 and okay, what can I make happen here? And I feel like we need more of that in football. So hopefully it does come through as we go along. But touching back on Chelsea's draw, they are going to be taking on Leeds United in the FA Cup semi-final. So a bit of a tougher draw per se, and it looks like Leeds have a lot to play for. They're trying to stay in the Premier League, and they obviously now got this opportunity to go to Wembley. So Jason, how do you think Leeds will be motivated by this draw?
Yeah, definitely supremely motivated, man. I can't think back to the time or the last time maybe that Leeds went to Wembley, because even when they're in the Championship, they win through directly, right? So
Rodz, you also right? So you got the reference. Exactly.
Novel graveyard over there, eh? Yeah, they obviously win Championship directly, so they never have to play playoffs. So Wembley is a moment for them. I think they've definitely grown in confidence in these last few months. They've been showing some really good showings in really big games. So yeah, I think they go there, and it probably galvanizes them in that last push. They're obviously in a scrap. That Leeds West Ham game it's in that relegation shout as well. So that was maybe a good psychological one for them. Just on that Esteval thing as well, exceptional young player. You just do have to worry about who's going to be kind of mentoring him, just
Yeah,
because at the moment Chelsea don't have anything in the way of real leadership. I mean, you now see that your captain is suspended. His midfield partner, they both sort of working for Real Madrid. So who does Real Madrid come for first? So yeah, I think with a Max Diamond, there's a good sort of a structure for him. I worry about Estevao, especially with the instability that's at Chelsea. Great talent, just needs somebody to guide him properly and kind of keep him on that
yeah,
straight and narrow. And not even just straight and narrow, like he's going to be a kid that's going to wander off, and really kind of figure out all the nooks of London, but more just to understand the pressure that comes with being that kid. So yeah, it would be an interesting time. But yeah, definitely on that Leeds thing, it's something that can really galvanize the season that maybe wasn't the best for them. And yeah, it's such a passionate bunch of fans. So I'm sure they'll make Wembley a real vibe.
yeah. It's an exciting draw, so lots to look forward to if you are a supporter of one of those clubs. Mubin, Sunderland did not make it. It was Southampton, but okay, thanks for trying. Maybe you need a Wembley
Yeah,
hot
bless his
water
heart.
or a
I think
double
he's
hot
probably in the
water.
line and he's hungry at Wembley. So now he's just confused.
Yeah,
I'm
makkelijk in
actually
niet te verliezen.
I'm scared of Leeds. Actually,
Yeah,
if from your memory, our downfall, I think Rosenior came in, started very well. I think there were a few cup games in there.
Yeah,
I think there was a Charlton, and it was something like 7 from 10. But essentially, this little slip of ours has happened from that Leeds game. It was the Leeds draw and then the Burnley draw. And we just haven't seen,
yeah,
everybody seems to think it was the PSG
yeah,
that last 15
yeah,
minutes. But no, it was actually the two results before where we got those two draws against Leeds
yeah,
and Burnley last minute. So Leeds, low
yeah,
block. Essentially, two teams who play on the counter kind of cancel each other out. So again, it's
yeah.
just
yeah.
going to come down to mistakes where we have been obviously just full of mistakes. So yeah, it's going to be a good game. Looking
Yeah.
forward to it. Obviously, the history with Chelsea Leeds is there for everyone to know as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I did see your question, and we're going to come to it in a bit. So, just to set the scene as we transition out of the FA Cup back into the league, looking at the Chelsea Man City game. So, we're going to start off with Chelsea just to get a bit of a feeling. So, obviously, you're looking at their season as a whole, and just to get your take after the 31 games that have been played. Essentially, Chelsea started the season in the Club World Cup. They had a deep run. They did fairly well. They won the trophy, which was fantastic momentum going into the season. And when I saw that, I thought, okay, Maresca's building something here, and they could, be top four, top three, challenge a bit at the top initially, which I think they kind of did coming out the gate, but then slowly things started to go wrong. Obviously, we saw Maresca in like the space of 10 to 14 days, things just shifted completely, and then Maresca was suddenly out. And then the whole corporate structure kicked in, and we saw Liam Rosenior come in. Again, he started well too, but then obviously a couple of results. I think against Arsenal they didn't get the result, and then you mentioned those
Yeah.
two draws, Burnley and Leeds, and now the wheels have started to come off a little bit. Again, this is from the outside. We are living in a world where there are more pessimistic fans than optimistic fans. We live in a world where people are looking for the storyline, the narratives, and all those types of things. So we, on our show, we want to dig a little deeper and kind of look at it and see what's actually happening. So currently, Jason alluded to players being suspended, players wanting moves, Cucurella talking about certain things, but may possibly looking outside the club, whatever the case may be. And then that brings us again to AF's question, obviously, with Liam Rosenior building for the future, right? And is that something that you can see? Can you see a future with him as the manager at Chelsea Football Club, or do you have a different type of future envisioned as a fan? Where do you see this going?
Ultimately, I think it comes down to Champions League qualification.
Okay.
Especially with his contract. People will go back to Rosenior signed a 6-year contract. Now, if you look at his contract carefully, it stipulates that if you don't make the Champions League, we can get rid of you at no extra cost, no compensation. So I think again, it comes down to Champions League. It comes down to players wanting to come and go. It's a difficult one in terms of if you say Chelsea wanting to build for the future, because I look at Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento, those are two guys who you would say Chelsea building for the future. But no, obviously at Chelsea at the minute, it's obviously all about sales, all about making money. So another guy like Josh Achampong, I think we will lose him the season because he's academy graduate and he's pure profit. So it's difficult for me to say, are Chelsea building to the future? I think they've got a good core there, but I think they've got a good middle core. They still need, I think, some experience at the top, and then obviously they've got heaps of youngsters coming through. We obviously know.
How do you feel like as a fan watching a club that has such a high turnover? So as a fan, generally you kind of attach yourself to a group of players, or like you say, that core, and you support that, and then generally or traditionally we've had teams add to that core with a couple of players, but generally the core is the same, and that's what you get behind, right? If you go back to the legendary squads, you're going John Terry, Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba, Petr Cech, that's your core. You got Ashley Cole that was added to it, and you got guys coming in and out, but essentially that core is those 4 or 5 players that you really rally around. And with the way Chelsea turn over the squad now, how do you find it as a fan? Do you enjoy it? Is it something exciting, or is it something that frustrates you, or just makes it hard to support the club like you want to?
Hey, for all the years I've supported Chelsea, it's always been chaotic. Chelsea thrive in chaos. We've won our 2 Champions League triumphs, which was the one thing we were holding hope with Rosenior. We've won those 2 Champions Leagues when we've, changed the manager in the middle of the season.
Yes,
it's not something that scares me. The one thing that does worry me is that for the first time ever, we've had like 2 senior players come speak out. That just tells me that obviously there's a massive void of leadership over there. We obviously got Paul and Winstanley, who've got the Brighton model. But if you look at Brighton, they've got their Lewis Dunks, they've got their Danny Welbecks, and then middle core and their youngest.
James Milner.
Have that, James Milner, exactly. We just refuse to do that. But I completely understand. These guys are in to make money. I just wish they would use the same philosophy. Todd Bowley, he is LA Dodgers. And I don't know if you're familiar with your baseball. They've just won back-to-back World Series. And you look at their roster. You got your Shohei Ohtani's, you got your Mookie Betts, your Freddie Freemans, you got your Will Smiths. They've got it where you got your experience, your middle core, and your youngsters up and coming. I don't know, at Chelsea hedge fund, it's just going to be the next 5 or so years of making money, I guess.
Yeah,
I think that's where they have to identify who these players are. They can build around and then recycle the other players. I don't like the profit thing. Unfortunately, it is what it is. I'd have liked to have seen Duas Hall and Livramento obviously at the club. Reece James, you got there. He's someone you can he's the spine currently, but you need more of him. Doesn't help that he's never fit either, which is a tough part.
He signed a 6-year contract, but he's never on the field. So I just
his hamstring condition. Yeah, for sure. So it's a challenge, but they do make things interesting. I'll give them that. And let's see if they can, put together a good run. So the Premier League is calling it a run-in, the end of the season, the last 7 games. And something interesting, I saw someone mention in the comments, I think it was AF, that thanks to Arsenal last night, and you all are welcome, the 5th spot on the Premier League now has Champions League. So Chelsea and Liverpool. Liverpool are currently in 5th. Chelsea is 1 spot below. So they'll be fighting for that 5th spot to get into the Champions League. Something to remember, though, is that the log is very tight from 5 down. There's about 7 to 9 points between 5th and 13th position on the log. So if you go on a run and you get a couple of good results back to back, suddenly you go from 9th to 5th or whatever the case is. So that's going to be something to watch. But going towards the end of the season, do you think Chelsea can put Liverpool into the Champions League spot, Rodz, or do you think it's going to be Liverpool or another team that ends up 5th?
It's going to be mighty tough for us. I think our next 4 games are essentially going to decide our season. I think we've got City, United, Brighton, and then
Nottingham Forest, and then after that is Liverpool, and then Spurs, and then you end off with Sunderland. So actually, that whole run-in is
exactly
30 hours.
And
you're going to do it, you're going to earn it.
crazy
Yeah.
thing, I would actually, I don't like saying write off, but not write off, but I would actually rest who I think is going to be our captain this weekend is Moises Caicedo. I would actually rest him because he's a walking yellow card and he's on 9 yellow cards. So if he gets a yellow, invariably without Enzo in there, he's going to pick up a yellow. He misses 2 games. Once you've accumulated 10 yellows, you miss 2 games. 5 yellows is 1 game, 10 yellows is 2 games. So I would actually rest him for City and then keep him for the rest of those games. But yeah, it's going to be mighty tough. The most, again, I've got no idea. The one thing is that Liverpool seem to be on the decline, but you just never know.
The challenge here is that Jason mentioned the fixture run. So if you look at the fixture run for both Liverpool and City, they have a tough running towards the back end. Their fixtures are not easy at all for both of them. In fact, some of the other teams have a better run of fixtures than Liverpool and Chelsea. So Aston Villa, they already have a 5-point advantage. Their fixtures are a bit friendlier. And then teams like Man United, Everton, Brighton, they also have a more favorable fixture list. But again, football's not played on paper. And I think that what we've seen so far this season is that it's all to play for. Teams come, everyone has something to play for. These guys, you come up against a relegation team, it's not a walkover. Wolves have shown that they're going to fight. They're going to go down, but they're not going to go down without a fight. We have guys jockeying for position for European spots. You've got guys that have won the cup, so that spot's going to transition to someone else. So, for example, Man City have won the Carabao Cup, so they got a spot in the Conference League. But we know that they aren't going to be in the Conference League, so that spot's going to then go to someone in 7th or 8th position on the log. So there's more to fight for in terms of those European, positions. They're going to be interesting. I get your odds. It is tough to say with conviction that they can finish 5th, but the chance is there, and it's going to make the running towards the end of the season a lot more interesting. Just to go into the chat, I see we've got Yasin back in the mix. Yasin, you were late, but we won't hold it against you. Late run in the box is good from you. As far the champ is here, that's pity. Liverpool is not doing well for you at the moment, but I actually feel positive about them tonight. Maybe they'll get a result against PSG just for you. And as usual, it took Arsenal 90 minutes to score. Actually, it took us 91 minutes to score. So if you are going to throw shade, make sure that you get your facts right, my man. While United are in pre-season somewhere, waiting for another month before they get to play a game. I think they haven't played a game for a month, right? United.
Yeah.
And
it was actually funny, right? So
pre-season.
If Maguire's red card stood, it was obviously rescinded. If it stood, his next game would only be in May. It was going to be something because that 3-match ban. It would then take him into May, so he would have been. I don't know. I think last night's game really angered people because they were watching and hoping that we'd fall last night after the previous 2 games because that's their source of entertainment recently. And it was so nice to score that last minute. As frustrating as it was, as an Arsenal fan, I was happy that the haters left with nothing.
Actually, something Rodz said earlier about Havertz getting someone fired. Havertz and you mentioned another player.
Timo Werner. Havertz and
Werner. Havertz is literally doing the opposite for us. He's keeping us in competition. Keeping us.
The amount of times you guys have scored last-minute goals this season across whatever cup just tells you you've got that stoicness that you just need to score 1 goal. That's it, Obviously now I think the nerves are kicking in a bit. But again, I think our fixture against Man City, pretty much, it's a massive one for either of us, but I think it's a huge one for you. City, if we get a result against City, I think that puts the Prem at ease,
Yeah, so you know what you need to do. So let's just touch on Man City, Jason. Obviously, I'm going to punish you a little bit because we need the Man City opinion, and you're on the other side of it, right? So obviously, City have come into fantastic form recently. They've been playing great football. You saw what they did to us in the Carabao Cup final. Obviously, pretty much torn with us, and they have the ball. Cherky doing his thing. Haaland was quiet in the Carabao Cup final, but he came to life against Liverpool in the FA Cup. He is getting in good positions.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've spoken about this at length, but Semenyo has been the star for me, coming in on the right, and
Yeah.
he's just been a fantastic addition to this group. He gets into great positions. He's threatening. He can shoot. He's putting in amazing
Yeah.
crosses. It's just working really well. And then one of the moves that kind of went under the radar a little bit, but Mark Gay has come in and slotted in seamlessly. You know, he's pretty much become the leader of their backline, and they spoiled for choice. So with all the momentum and the run in being the time when City shine, how do you feel about their prospects? Obviously, 9 points is big on paper, but do you think they can catch Arsenal? And you know, how are you feeling with them breathing down our necks?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm feeling a bit of pressure just with the way that we are playing. I don't feel like exceptionally nervous about City. I've always said in recent times the only team that can stop Arsenal is Arsenal. So if we don't want to turn up, we'll literally be our own worst enemies. City, whilst they look very imperious at the moment, and as we've mentioned, this running period is when they normally peak. The team is still a bit disjointed, and you came up against a Liverpool side that, yeah, I'm not sure if they know whether they are Arthur or Martha at this moment in time. The City model was really rebuffed in Jan. Without Semenyo, without Mark Gay, they are not anywhere where they are right now. And that speaks to a different kind of financial backing. And that's something that you have to, you can't ignore the fact that the two best players came in Jan, because up until then, Haaland kind of dipped off. So, yeah, I think they've done well with those signings. Those players have come in and have absolutely elevated a very subpar City team this season. But yeah, I kind of have to stick to my guns here. Not kind of, I'm going to stick to my guns. And I feel like there's a bit of nerves, as there should be. But I don't think they're going to have enough to catch us. And that's just my honest opinion. And yeah, I'm happy to be clipped up and be bantered off later on. But yeah, everybody talks about, oh, they must do this. Why don't you guys challenge City? Why don't you run them close? And then you see how much pressure it is. But yeah, I think it'll be a good running. It'll be a close running, but I still think they ultimately will give up a few more points.
Yeah, look, it's likely, it's possible, you never know. But another thing I just wanted to add on there and get Rod's take a bit on this, looking at City's backline, I feel that Kusanov took some time to get settled, but I feel like he's settling in now. He's starting to show that fight that you want to see from a defender. He puts in a good tackle. He is fighting, man. He's not just being a pushover as he was initially. He's going man to man with all the players he's up against. And I think he's starting to kind of get the physicality of the Premier League and putting his best foot forward. Nunes has also been a converted midfielder to a right back. I thought he's been doing quite well. And then we've seen the same with Nico O'Reilly. So just from a defensive point of view, Rod, you see things coming together for City at the back, and obviously they have a great goalkeeper as well.
Yeah, I think again, obviously defensively solid. I think Kusanov is coming into his own. I mean, naturally, it always takes a bit of time for some, you know. I think obviously Donnarumma as well. In terms of you're talking about acquisitions in January, I think Donnarumma has been massive for City.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have to be superb because, as you were mentioning earlier on, Jason was talking about, you know, having to worry. I think you guys are allowed to make a couple of mistakes. I think ultimately City have to be flawless from now till the end of the season. And I think their backline is obviously going to be a huge part in that. Gahey, again, superb, world class. He could easily be captain in Chelsea right now. So, yeah, that's another one in terms of a backline that we've seen gone and still, not even abroad, but still within the Premiership. If I'm talking Lewis Hall, Gahey, Livramento, then we've got some Tamori, you know. But, yeah, I think City... They'll be superb, but I think they've got to be flawless, which is going to be very tough.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what happens when you do get a lead early on in the season. kind of allows you to, take a bit more chances. I think at the back end you can drop a couple of points here and there, but it is difficult. It's never easy. We saw that Liverpool last year, they kind of wrapped up the league fairly early on and they had a very tough run in, but it didn't matter because they did all the hard work early on, So, yeah, it's looking interesting. I think City is obviously flying at the right time of the season, which they just know how to do. It does help when you can dip into the checkbook and sign players of the quality of Gaya and Semenyo. Proven, something that we often hear on this show about players coming into different clubs, proven. So yeah, quite interesting, and I think it's going to be a very exciting run-in because I think all teams have something to play for. There's a lot at stake in the league this year, and the league is good. I believe when there's more competition, it's better. If any team can win at any time, I prefer that. It's parity. You mentioned baseball earlier. Not basketball, I'd say in baseball and NFL, there's a lot more parity. Teams can win at any time, and it's more interesting when you are watching something like that. So yeah, quite interesting. I'm gonna go into the predictions. So put everyone on the spot. I need a score prediction for the Chelsea versus Man City game. I'm gonna start with you, Jason. What's your prediction for the game?
Yeah, I think if I believe everything that I'm reading online, I think Chelsea will be up for it. I hope that they are. I'm gonna go with this game's at the Bridge, right?
Yes, sir.
At the Bridge. Yeah, I'm gonna go for a 2-2 draw. I think it'll be very open, very flowy. Yeah, sorry, man. Sorry,
No, that was
Rodz.
that's exactly what I was thinking. I was actually thinking 3-3, but I thought to be.
Ooh,
I think it's gonna be an
yeah,
entertaining, high scoring stalemate.
yeah.
I like that. So we got the
Okay.
score draw from Jason 2-all. We got a score
Yeah.
draw from Rodz 3-3. I'm gonna be the wet blanket over here, and I'm gonna say City prevail 2-1. We've got Mubin with a 2-0 to City, a red card Chelsea. That's a bit of a lazy take. Generally, you can count on them for a red card, but let's see that happens. Garnacho to 1. Get up Sky Blues 2-1 to Chelsea.
For the
Rod,
Vibes.
tell me, man,
Yeah.
what's the experience supporting a player like Garnacho? Do you like him? Do you want him to stay? What's your Garnacho take?
To be honest with you, I don't mind him. I think he was always just going to be here for a season, unless he was just out of this world. But I mean, I've seen him. I saw enough of him at United. I thought he'd be a decent impact player, last 15, 20 minutes, but he started too many games for us, which just shows you the state of our club at the minute. But no, to be honest with you, I really didn't mind him. I think a good little stopgap. He's shown us his value, and he's just simply not good enough. So fair enough.
Yeah, I think it's more the United fans that are enjoying his demise or his lack of performance, because he moved on from the club, and obviously he does things that don't help a team. Like we're waiting for his big podcast or press release or whatever's coming soon. He teased it earlier. I'm gonna tell the truth soon, or whatever the case is. So those type of things don't help you, man. Get your performance on track, score goals, and then talk, or let the goals talk for you, right? Like AF saying, the ego of Ronaldo. If you have the ego of Ronaldo, you gotta have the goals of the man, right? You can say what you want to because he put in the goals, but you can't have the talent of Gabriel Obertan. That's a deep pool, actually. So a very interesting deep pool, Gabriel Obertan. Catching strays here from the United fans, but
The poor guy.
No, it's just not good enough. I mean, you look on the other side, we got Estabao. I'm not saying every player has to be of that quality, but Garnacho is a squad player, play him in the cups, play him in the last 15. But when I see him starting games for CFC LDN, then it becomes problematic.
Yeah.
What about somebody like Jamie Gittins as well? He's also failed to live up to...
Jamie Gittins, Mikhailo Mudryk. There've been a few, so yeah.
Yeah, that looks like they're just firing shots and seeing what sticks. Firing darts, right, and see whatever lands.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's at the end of the day, like Rod said, they're selling for profit, and it seems to be working.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Dodgers, and I'll just wrap up on Chelsea on this point. So the Dodgers, the difference between the teams is they've done it in a, it's going to sound weird, but they've done it in a more Brighton way than a Chelsea way. Because initially, when that ownership group took over, they started with a flash. They did all those things, but they bought old players. That didn't work. So they cleaned out all the old players and they went young. And they built, in baseball, it's called a farm system. So in football, the comparison would be your academy teams, your youth players. And they built one of the best farm systems in the league. And then they topped that up with free agent signings of older players, or players in their prime. And now they're the oldest team in the league, but they've transitioned through that. So they've promoted the youngsters or used the youngsters to put the better older players. And they've spent money. So now they have like a proper all-star team. It's costing an arm and a leg, but they also have young players to come in and supplant that. They've also struck gold with the Japanese players. So they've done it in a bit more of that Brighton way, I think they've scouted really well at the bottom and then topped it up with the top level guys. And if they can bring that approach to Chelsea, which they have tried, obviously trying to get the Brighton guy in, but it just hasn't worked yet.
I just don't see with how it works in baseball. You got deep squads, deep rosters. You play 150 odd games. You need them. With this model, I don't quite see where the end game is unless they are willing to have all of these guys, all of the core stay for 10 years. And you can't guarantee that in life. You can never guarantee that.
But you probably have to identify the guys that you want to stay. So is that, like, for example, they signed Reece James to a 6-year deal. On paper, it makes sense because he's kind of been one of the better players, but it's the fitness part. But who do you put around him? Who's the other centre back? Who's your goalkeeper long term? Goalkeeper is a big problem for Chelsea at the moment, and it's been that way for a while. Can you just put a spine together? Give me 5 players that you want in the next 6 years to still be at your club, right? Once you know that, you can then work around with that, right? Like I say, there's on the wrong side of. I think he might be close to 30, if not over 30 already. You have Romeo Lavia also. Caicedo, he's close to 30, right?
I think he's 27, 28. I think
Correa
is 28 as well. And then the rest are all younger.
So you got a couple of guys you could essentially build around. João Pedro has done well for Chelsea. But so when you talk about end game, if João Pedro is leading the line for you at the end game, you're probably not happy because you want your end game to be more along the lines of Erling Haaland than João Pedro if you're talking about end game. So definitely want to watch. We've enjoyed your perspective on Chelsea. We're going to now test you and Jason. Obviously, the three of us support London teams. So we're all obviously enjoying the Spurs experience at the moment. We did touch on this. Caicedo's young, 24. He definitely looks a lot older. I'm a bit dubious on that age.
When you earn that much money, then you're a groot man.
I see.
That's a problem as well with the narrative in the media is that we've got experience. Correa, Fernandes, Caicedo, all these guys at their international teams, they all have to report to somebody higher than them. And I'm not talking one player. They're having to report to 4 or 5 people. And that's the problem at Chelsea is that these are the guys that are expected to steer the ship.
So let's pivot to the white part of North London. I don't see Ziyaad in the chat. Disappointing that he's hiding away. But obviously Roberto de Zerbi has come in media saying that he had a fantastic first training session. Everyone's excited and the mood is lifted and so on. But in all honesty, Spurs have their work cut out for them. 4 losses in their last 5 games. They're 1 point above 18th, right? And West Ham is sitting in 18th, 1 point behind. Forest is 2 points ahead. Leeds is 3 points ahead of Spurs. And when we look at the fixtures, right, Spurs have one of the tougher set of fixtures on the list in comparison. So Spurs, you look at Leeds have the easiest run-in to the end of the season on paper. Wolves also have one of the easier run-ins. And then West Ham as well. They all have easier run-ins than Spurs. So a lot to play for Spurs. What have you made so far this season of Spurs, Rodz? What are your thoughts on them?
They've just been an absolute shambles, but I think the signs were there last year. I think the Euros papered over the cracks. I think, what did they finish 17th last season, and they just kind of haven't kicked
Yeah,
off, and they've had injuries. Fair enough. Hate that part of London. Hate that team, but they have been decimated with injuries. I mean, I've seen now. I was watching something recently. I think with Madison, and he's trying to get back
yeah,
to fitness before the end of the season.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
completely
yeah.
forgot about that. He got injured as well.
yeah,
So
Exactly.
yeah, but I think when it comes to the fixtures, I don't have the fixtures in front of me, but I think it's going to be the
Yeah.
6 pointers around. Those are the ones that are obviously going to
Yes.
determine the
Yeah, like
fate of
that
all the rest
Forest one
of
was
us.
a big one. When they lost to Forest, that
yeah,
was a tough loss. And it kills the morale. The thing for me, like you mentioned, the injuries, and I think Solanke's been one of the big misses. He doesn't stay fit long enough, but when he is fit, he adds such a dynamism to their front line because
yeah,
he's fairly clinical. I'll give him that. His movement is pretty good, and he just gives them an outlet, man. And you know, you get these strikers in the Premier League, and he falls in that bracket for me with the likes of Calvert Lewin, Ollie Watkins. These guys are very, very good English strikers who are good for 10 to 15 goals a season. And when you
yeah,
can't have a guy like that available enough, it does make things difficult for you. And at the end of the day, if you are going to stay up, you need goals. And Jason, throwing it to you for just your take on this, but for me, where I think Spurs are going to struggle is to score. That I feel is going to be the biggest problem,
yeah.
and that's why I have them going down. I don't see them escaping this. How do you see it playing out as we go towards the back end?
Yeah, look, we obviously alluded to their fixture run. They don't have an easy run. They go Sunderland away, Brighton home, Wolves away. That's April. Then for May, they've got Villa away, Leeds home, Chelsea away, and then Everton at home. So that's not
We will
an
probably
easy stretch.
relegate them.
Yeah, and I'm sure that will be a great one. When you think back to that last or that game that maybe gave, I think it gave Leicester the title, 2014, 15, maybe 15,
Yeah,
16.
yeah.
So it was, that was a feisty game. It's the complete opposite here. Spurs are not vying for the title, they're actually vying for their safety. And you could literally send them down. Um, yeah, in terms of where it's going to go, the defense is completely split apart. The attack is non-functional. In their midfield, they can't figure out whether it's Paulinho at centre back or centre mid, whether it's Yves Basuma playing right centre back or centre mid, whether it's Archie Gray playing in there. So yeah, Zerbi's got his work cut out. He's had a really nice period to work with him. So I think they do get a result in one of these 3 games in the month. They're definitely going to get something out of it. The problem we're speaking about in goals is, yeah, they owe the league 10 goals. They've got a negative goal difference, which is something that
Yeah,
Man
it's
United
insane.
had for a few seasons as well. So, yeah, to make that up, because I think it's going to be tight. It's going to come down to that goal difference. It's going to be 1 or 2 points, or it's going to be a goal difference of 1 or 2 goals. So, yeah, I'm going to need a guy like Xavi Simmons to step up now in the system.
Mm.
And then, yeah, maybe Richarlison.
Yeah.
He had that Everton run. We maybe kept him up as well. So there's also that. But it's not looking good, bro. It's not looking good.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the goals, right? When I look at the teams around them, if I look at West Ham, and I feel West Ham's going to stay up. What Jared Bowen
Mm.
does for them, he puts them on his back, man, and he's got that.
Yeah.
He's been in these relegation scraps before. He knows what it's about.
Yeah.
He's part of the West Ham fabric. You know, I think he married
Yeah.
someone who's one of the ultras at West Ham. You know, part of that group. So he's like kind of in the fabric of West Ham, and
Yeah.
when the goods need to be delivered, he steps up. And they've made some good signings in January as well in their forward line. With Spurs, again, it's just the goals for me. Where's it going to come from? Forest have done well. They've rebounded again with Nuno. He gives that team a bit of a spine, man, and a bit of a fight. And their midfield is strong. I really like Elliot Anderson. So I think
Yeah.
they'll be okay. And then Leeds could slip, but I think Leeds have enough to. It's going to come down to Leeds or Spurs who go down. I think
Yeah.
West Ham will be safe. So that relegation battle is going to be quite interesting. And you make a good point, Rod, when you said that the Europa League win papered over the cracks. And it's kind of a sliding doors moment because I thought whoever won the Europa League would kick on. And it's actually been the team that lost the Europa League last year that actually kicked on.
Yeah.
It's been Man United that, even though they've also fired their manager, they've kicked on. They see themselves in third position, and Spurs are languishing in the exact same spot they were last season. So it seems that it did more good for United and more harm for Spurs. So it worked out in the end, even though you didn't get the trophy and the Champions League qualification. United did end up in a better position, and Spurs are struggling. So definitely a lot to watch as we go into the running, as they are calling it, on the Premier League. It's been fun as we wrap up here, guys. It's been fun, Rodz. It's been a pleasure to have you. It's been a long time coming. Whenever you want to be on the show again, you have anything you want to talk about, the invite is open. You just hit us up, let me know, and we will make those arrangements to get you on. It's been a pleasure to have you. So thank you for making the time.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much for having me on. I'll sort out my tech. As I told you earlier on, I think today years old when I realized that, because I mean, obviously I've taken all social media off my phone. I'm gonna have to reinstall it now before Sportycast.
There we go. We're making people change lives here.
Yeah, exactly. But you can't share from your laptop. You have to do it from your phone. So I'll sort out my tech, and just love anything and everything sports. So happy to join again in the future.
Nah, lekker, man. And AF, I see you you're putting in the comments here, AF is our tech guy, so he's brought us up to speed, because myself and Jason, we also were 2 days old when we learned a lot of things. Even till today, we still have to be supervised to make sure we're pressing the right buttons and so on. So you're not alone on that one. Ramesh, thanks for coming, my man, but you did miss a lot. So once we're done, you can still catch this episode. It will be living on YouTube rent-free. So you can catch up with it whenever you want to. We did miss you. I didn't see you in the comments. So I know because AF wasn't on the show, you decided, you know what, I'm not going to watch. I know you only watch us
he
for
and AF are actually having a coffee together. And that's why two of them couldn't be on.
Probably because AF took the night off. So Ramesh is like, he's also going to take the night off. But okay, we see you. We see you. The late run into the box. Definitely.
False
So,
9 AF.
Jason.
False 9. Classic number 9 is in the box already. Late run into the box. False 9. One of the
Jason,
eights.
tell us what's happening with you for the rest of the week. Obviously, we got the Masters coming up.
So Masters definitely going to be exciting. That starts tomorrow if you are in that way inclined for golf. There's still a bit of Champions League tonight. There is the Prem, and then on a personal note, if anybody's in Cape Town, I'll be running the Two Oceans Half Marathon on Sunday.
Champion.
So I'm gonna try it. I will report back if you don't see me or hear from me in a few weeks. It's because the heels have caught me and swallowed me up.
What's that place called? The difficult hill? I can't remember the name now. Southern Cross, yeah. You can catch Jason will be on Southern Cross. A week after Easter also.
Yeah. Inzi runs it up last week and then he takes an Uber down. So I'm not feeling too confident about his prospects, but hopefully I'll see him on the race sometime. But that's me.
Jason, don't be so modest, eh? You say you're gonna give it a try. I will release some secret info. Jason is trying to run the half marathon in a sub 2 hour time. So we are putting on the clock. We're gonna be watching to see if we can make that.
That's now it's on the line. Now everybody knows that I shared in confidence with you.
You on the same type of pressure that Arsenal's under, right? You gotta go big or go home. So that's sub 2 hours. I hope you get it, and good luck. But enjoy the golf. It's gonna be good. For us here at Sportycast, obviously covering all sports, we got tons of news. Rodz mentioned the baseball. The season just started, so we're about a week and a half into the season. A lot of fun storylines coming up. I report on that daily, so I pop on all our social media accounts. There'll be just some headlines or some small news stories of what's happening. We've got I want to say the Aussie rules.
No, NRL.
Right? No,
NRL.
Right country, right
Rugby. I was wondering which jersey that was. Rugby league.
The NRL is boosting at the moment. I do see it when I get to work in the morning. It's one of the sports that's on, and I do have an Aussie friend that pops into my office. So I'm starting to learn about it. Quite interesting.
Yeah.
The
What is
NRL, so we've
the
got a lot of
what
sport
is the time
happening.
difference? Just quickly, because Australia is quite far ahead of South Africa. So what is it for you guys that are in Dubai?
The time difference between us and Australia.
Yeah. I mean, if
Like,
you
if you're watching
into
NRL, it's
NRL,
probably in the morning, right? Like 10 a.m., 9
Anywhere
a.m.
between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. our time is when the
Okay.
That's pretty
Australian
decent.
sports are on. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, just when you're getting into work, and especially if you're working
Yeah,
online, you got one
literally.
screen with the sport on the one side, and you got your Zoom calls on the
One
other
thing
side.
was a
So
meeting.
you
Yeah.
find the balance.
Nah,
So
for
yeah,
sure.
lots of social media. Check us out everywhere. We're on all the platforms posting the news, and we will be back again next week, same time, same place. I don't know who's hosting. You're just gonna have to check our socials to find out. Thank you all. Good night and enjoy the Champions League if your team is involved. Bye bye.
Thank you, guys. Have a